Oh, we are so live. And we're about to start a space too. We're starting a space. We're allowing it. Microphone in use. It's going to be like my second ever Twitter spaces. All right, we're live. I'm just not even going to check that one now. All right. Freed from Booch Ball here for Adventures in Week 1 with Jazzo. What's up, Jazz?
Hey, babe.
So pretty much our favorite pastime is talking about the Canes, and for the past 3 months I've been avoiding our traditional Miami phone calls so that we could get it on content. Like, we have so much good content when we're just driving around talking our bullshit, so it's time to get it recorded. We haven't talked Canes football all off season pretty much.
You've been ducking me, bitch.
I know. Are we gonna win it all this year or what? Like, why not?
Freed, I say this with no exaggeration. The University of Miami will be the first team to win 16 games in a season since the Yale Bulldogs of 1884, when they defeated the Harvard Crimson for the national championship.
Wow. 16 games. That's a lot. Before we continue, hop into this Twitter Spaces with me so it doesn't look like I'm just in it by myself, because that's a little weird.
I don't even have the Twitter app, but I will go log in through my browser.
Yeah, do it on the computer. That way it's picking up everything we're putting down.
Yeah.
So let's be real. I don't think we're winning a natty this year. I don't think you think we're winning a natty this year. Maybe you do. I don't know. I mean, I think we're going to be good though. I think this is by far the best team that we have on paper. This is the best team that we have had since I've been into the Miami game. So 2011, we weren't very good in the late 2010s. So the late 2000 OGs. So this is probably our best team since the early 2000s. Hard to argue with that, I feel like.
Yeah, I would agree. We've had some teams over the time since we've both been Canes fans that I think we were questioning, is this it? Especially under Manny. There was, 2017? 2017 was a year that I think we got pretty pumped up.
But yeah, that was Rick and Manny was 2017. You're talking about Notre Dame year?
When did we defeat Notre Dame?
Yeah, 2017. But that team wasn't that good.
That's correct, yeah.
Right? That was a bit of a facade.
You're trying to tell me that
it was a good offense. We had a good offense. We had some players. We all love Malik, but that's not an elite team,
You're trying to tell me Malik Rozier was not a top quarterback in the league?
Dude, no shade. He could hop into the space with us any second. So no shade. I mean, what he did, when he was on, before the defenses figured out that our best play was the QB draw, he was kind of nasty. But once they started reading into that and making him actually throw, we had some problems. But we had really good skill position players, a couple NFL guys on the offensive line. Probably not a great offensive line, but there was a couple guys. The defense was okay, but that wasn't a great team. They weren't a legitimate top 10 team.
What was our blue chip ratio that year?
Not great, probably. I don't know.
So it was definitely sub 50, but that's the question. I mean, obviously, blue chip ratio is only one statistic, but it seems to be a very important statistic.
I mean, it's at 100% in getting the champion, isn't it?
Well, right. The threshold being 50% blue chip ratio. Yeah.
I don't think Washington was there last year. TCU wasn't there the year before. So there's definitely a path, but those teams get up against a better team. Honestly, I don't even know if Michigan was there last year. They probably were.
They had a 54% blue chip ratio, so just above the threshold.
I feel like Miami traditionally over the past 10 years has been in the 40s, like kind of knocking on the door. Maybe for, I think a lot of times with transfers, you could like talk yourself into saying we were there. But like we really haven't been. Maybe we are now because I mean, the last few classes have been pretty money. We probably are. I don't know. Let's look this up.
I think we're actually, I think we're like 60-ish% right now.
Wow. It's pretty high.
Freed, are you going to tag Malik Rozier? Like, are you live tweeting at the same time? Throw him an at.
Dude, I've told you I had some calls with him about some of the NFT stuff and some Kane stuff recently. Me and Malik are boys now. So no shade, Malik, but I think he'd agree, honestly, that that team wasn't elite and that, it just wasn't quite there. Let's see. I got the blue chip ratio pulled up. Yeah, we're at 61. Florida's at 63. But this also doesn't take into account transfers. So,
I read an article, and if you go below, they talk about adjusting for transfers. We end up at like 56%.
Oh yeah, I see it with transfers. That's surprising that we go down. But I guess that's the thing though, because a lot of the transfers, they're going off of their high school ratings, or are they going off of their adjusted?
I assume ratings? High school.
Yeah. I mean, if that's true, that's almost kind of useless. Because like the high school rating, unless if you're transferring as a freshman after your freshman year, that makes like a little bit of sense. But for the dudes who are like grad transfers, it makes there's no what's it called? Coordination,
correlation between what you come in as and what. Yeah,
I think there's probably minimal correlation. Like we're talking about like some of our best transfers, Cam Ward, Mish Powell, those were 0-star dudes who come in as, 4-star probably transfers.
Well, yeah.
But anyway, I mean, Ohio State's at a 90%. That's just stupid.
Yeah, I mean, but what do we think? Is Ohio State even going to win the Big Ten this year?
They're the favorite, but a lot of people like Oregon. I don't see it. I think Ohio State should be by far the favorite. I don't see how you can think Oregon is going to win the Big Ten. Like, I think Oregon's very good, and I think they're a playoff contender, if not championship contender. Like, their roster is that good. But I just don't see how they're going to win the Big Ten. In their first year, they're everybody's Super Bowl in the Big Ten. Like, every team is going to get up for them. They're going to go into some hostile environments, and they're going to be playing a type of football that they're just like not used to playing week in and week out. Not to mention Dan Lanning hasn't won the Pac-12. He hasn't beaten Washington. He hasn't even beaten a top 10 team.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah. As your local correspondent on the West Coast, I've watched a lot of Oregon football, probably more than most, because the Pac-12 is not after dark here. And I would say Oregon is a good Pac-12 team. And I know the Pac-12 had a remarkable year last year, but I would say as a whole, the conference is still the conference. It is not Pete Carroll's Pac-12. This is not the Pac-12 of champions. This is the Pac-12 of mediocrity.
By the way, Jiz, check Twitter. I invited you to speak. So click on that thing so you can hop in as a speaker. So if anyone hops in the Twitter spaces, they can hear you in there too.
I'm going to join as a speaker. We're going to be running it off my phone. Let's get it going.
Why can't you do it both at the same time in the...
Oh, I guess I could also do it on my... Let me remove myself.
You're in, so whatever works.
Also, Freed, you're muted in the spaces.
Oh, well, I can hear you in both things now, so that's weird.
Because I unmuted.
I unmuted, and now I'm going to mute you. Wait.
I'm muting you as well.
I'm unmuted, but how? This is complicated. I need to mute this whole tab.
It's weirdly why doing it on the phone somehow worked better.
Yeah, that's smart. All right. Well,
Let's see.
How do I go to? We're gonna go to. I'm gonna figure this out real quick. There's got to be a way to mute a single tab. Sound settings. Sound.
So where are we live? Are we live on YouTube?
Yeah, so we're on the YouTube channel, and I also have it hooked up to Instagram and Twitch. Although I don't really know what the deal is with those.
I used to live right next to the Twitch headquarters.
Oh, sick. I can kind of hear you in both, but it's kind of coming in at the same time, so I'm just gonna let it ride.
Okay.
Okay, so Oregon. Yeah, I feel like you're selling them a little bit short. Like they picked up some big time transfers, like Dylan Gabriel. He's not Cam Ward, but he can play. And Evan Stewart. They got some studs coming in.
I mean, but what's the above replacement value of Dylan Gabriel as compared to a Bo Nix?
Probably a slight downgrade, but still, like that's pretty solid for your college QB.
Oh yeah. I mean, I would take Dylan Gabriel over a lot of dudes we've had in the past.
Yeah. So let's get back to Miami.
Yep.
I want to say an 11-1 team. I think I got to temper that like a little bit and just kind of be like, all right, 10-2, I feel like is a realistic, strong scenario. 10-2. So I think that's not a lock to make the ACC championship game, but I feel like if we go 10-2, we're probably going to make the playoffs. Like,
yeah,
maybe.
I would say I would say it's not a lock. I mean, it depends on who those two losses are. Are those two losses what? Florida and Louisville? Like, I mean, who are those losses?
Well, there's obviously there's a ton of options. I feel like if you're a one-loss ACC team, you're probably in the finals. But I could also see a scenario where there's 3 ACC teams who have one conference loss, right, and one of them misses the championship game. So, I mean, just like scrolling through the schedule, Florida, it's a bit of a toss-up. Like I feel very good going into that game as a Miami fan, but there's a realistic possibility you lose that game. Yeah. Does that affect the ACC schedule? Not really. Does that affect whether you make it into the playoffs? I mean, yeah, definitely. But not as much, I guess. But I mean, Virginia Tech, that's losable. Cal, that's losable. Louisville, that's losable. Florida State, that's losable. Duke, kill me if we lose to Duke. That
I mean, how funny, Freed, would it be if our
Max Payne?
So we're undefeated. We get upset by Duke. We then go to the ACC title game to play SMU and get beat by Rhett Lashley.
Stop it!
Like just revenge of the Miami football coaches.
If we go into the Duke game 8-0, we would have just beaten Louisville. We would have just we kicked the shit out of Florida State. We roll into the Duke game as a top 3 team in the country, and Manny Diaz puts his foot up our ass. Dude, so in Booch Ball Week 0, we talked about what game scares us the most on the schedule. It's Duke. Duke scares me more than any other team because, like, the repercussions of losing to Manny Diaz at home, it's terrifying. But, like, the good news is they should be pretty shitty. Like, they should not be good. So,
but Freed, that is the type of game that, as a Miami fan, you and I both know we will lose. Like that's Georgia Tech. That's Middle Tennessee. That's FIU. Like the list goes on and on of games that we had no business losing that we just crap the bed.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm scared of that, but I think way less likely than any of the others. Georgia Tech on the road, going into the year, that wasn't one I'm worried about, but they looked good. I mean, I'm not shocked that they beat Florida State. I was optimistic that that would happen. I think I was being a little bit of a dreamer by hoping that, but I did pick Georgia Tech in my like season long fantasy pick'em pool where you get to pick like 8 teams and you have like a budget and a dollar amount and you got to pick some good ones, pick some not so good ones. I got Georgia Tech as one of my I only spent $6 on Georgia Tech. Like I got Miami too. Miami was 11, but I've spent 6 of that on Georgia Tech. So far feeling good about that, but like that's a decent team. Scary out. We play them in Atlanta. I'm trying to go to that game. That's on my list of things to do is to book a flight, go visit Mama Bear up there and get to that game. But to finish the year, if we can get through all that, Wake Forest, they should be pushovers, and then Syracuse. I'm not saying, yeah, it's too early to tell. Like that's a losable game too. So realistically, like for me to just sit here and say lock in 11-1 season would be not wise. I mean, we drink the Kool-Aid every year and talk ourselves into it. I've talked myself into a 10-2 season here, but at the same time, I feel like it's more valid now than it's ever been. But I also say that every year. So am I being absurd to be like, this year is different? Is that stupid? Because we say that every year.
No, I think this year actually is different. I mean, what is it? We're in year 3. So we've got Mario's dudes who are actually now starting to become upperclassmen. Also, let me know if there's an echo. Am I getting it?
No, you're good. My ears are just getting hot.
the freed sweats strike. No, I mean, this is year 3 of Mario's dudes. I mean, what we've got Francis Mariano's finally an upperclassman. We've got is he a redshirt?
Sophomore.
That's right. He's an upperclassman.
True sophomore.
Who is in that first recruiting class? Point being,
there's not a whole lot left, honestly.
Okay, all right. So regardless, Mario's dudes have been there now a little bit.
Yeah.
That
first year, that was the transition class. Like he had 3 weeks to pull it together. A lot of those dudes have since been gone. But some of those dudes, like Inez Cooper, was at the back of that class. Like some of those dudes who weren't the top end of the class just kind of slid in and they're making noise. Others still have a lot of potential. But sorry, carry on. You're right.
And I think what he's done, which has been a winning formula for him, and I would say generally a winning formula, is he's built from the trenches out. And, I'm confident. Like that was the vision that Mario sold us when he came. And he even may now have a game management coach, which I think shows growth for Mario.
Dude, I gotta make a comment on that because I've seen some interesting shit on that. So I think the things he's been saying recently have made me feel more and more strongly that I've been right about what happened there the entire time. He said something along the lines like just yesterday, the game management coach thing you're quoting, he said, we had procedures in place, we just didn't follow them. And like, I've had this conversation with you a dozen times. I am convinced that he knew he could kneel. He just didn't want to. He had no interest in kneeling because he had that Canes mentality of that, like, we're going to ram it down your throat. You're going to eat this dick. And like, we are going to run the ball down your throat till the time clock ends. 0 pause. Right. I think that was entirely his choice to play that style. Maybe there was other factors, but the fact that he didn't know he could kneel the ball, I just don't believe.
Whether he didn't know he could kneel or he didn't comprehend the implications of kneeling, I appreciate the mentality. But also, Freed, that's not. I mean, that's obviously the crown jewel in the Mario bad decision tiara.
Right.
But shout out Tiara Girl,
Mrs. Hensler. But there's more.
But obviously, there's more, right? There's bad timeouts. There's not. I mean, right? There's not understanding game procedures. Mario does his best work from the time that the national championship ends till the time that first kick goes in August, right? His job is done by the time August 31st comes around. The rest of the year, he should take a vacation. He looks stressed. He needs some time to just maybe sit in the box.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, overall, I agree. But I think the big thing is whether the procedures were in place and he chose not to follow them on purpose or whether something else happened. The key thing is I think he learned that lesson. Whether it was the lesson of I got to follow these or I need to make them better so that I don't forget to follow them, or like no matter what, I'm going to follow them. I think we crossed that bridge. And honestly, if we look back at this this season, if we look back at this at the end of this season and we make the playoffs, or next season we make the semifinals, who knows? We could look back 2 years ago and be like, maybe it was a good thing that we went 7-5 and not 8-4. At the time, it felt like the castle was crumbling, but looking back, it was one win. 7-5 to 8-4. We had the number 3 recruiting class in the country. Like, who cares? It's on to 2024.
Freed, we say all of that, and that may be like these may be the last happy moments we have for the rest of the season. like this might be the peak of our optimism. I think we need to acknowledge that we are feeling like we are setting expectations that we're going to the playoffs. Like, even with Booch ball this week, you said, I don't think the playoffs are out of reach. I think a good season was we're going to win an ACC title. Like, all of that being said, I think a good season is like what? If we go 9-3. Like, if we go 9-3, I know it'll be disappointing, but it's yet another step in Mario's progression.
Yeah.
And maybe it's next year.
You're not wrong. I'm going to argue with you on the semantics. I think a 9-3 season this year would be acceptable.
Yeah.
It's progression. It's a big step. I think it's acceptable, but I'm not going to say that's a good year. If we go 9-3 and don't make the ACC championship game, don't make the playoffs, not a good year. We go 10-2, don't make the ACC championship game, don't make the playoffs. I'm okay with that because that means we took care of business, in 8 out of the 10 challenging games that we're going to play this year. Like, Florida A&M and Ball State are bye weeks. And I know we've lost to Middle Tennessee State before. I know we've lost to FIU before, but Ball State is one of the worst 5 teams in FBS. They're a MAC school. They're not good. I will never drink a kombucha on stream again if we lose to Ball State. And that's a fact. Okay? We're not losing to Ball State.
Freed, I want you to take those stakes higher. You will never.
I'm not that confident.
You never know. He knows. Never underestimate the Canes' ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah. But when we beat them like 54-3, I mean, we'll circle back. But yeah. So, and by the way, I'm putting a hard stop for me at 10 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're on the West Coast, but I gotta go to sleep. It's already past my bedtime. So I say we should do this again.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, maybe Thursday. We'll do this shit all week. This is pre-season hype week, potentially the happiest we're going to be about Canes football all year. I hope not, but there's a chance.
I will say, I think the happiest we're going to be is next Sunday. We will have beat Florida, which I feel confident in. That's a good Florida team. They've got a lot of talent, but we're gonna lose. We're gonna lose a game here. I don't know which game it is because that's the fun of being a Canes fan. But one of these games on here, it might be Ball State, and you may never drink kombucha again.
No.
But we're gonna lose one of these disappointing games, and I don't know which one it is, but I know it's coming.
I think peak Canes hype this season is gonna be leading into the South Florida game. I think we're gonna beat Florida, and we're gonna beat Florida A&M and Ball State by an average of like 50 points each. We're gonna roll into South Florida feeling hot. We're gonna be ranked top 10. We're gonna have like a plus 120 point differential on the season. We're gonna roll in feeling good, and we're gonna struggle in the first half of that game. I see that as happening. I don't think we're gonna lose to USF, but I would not be surprised in the least bit if we get a wake up call in that first half. So I mean, maybe that's our wake up call, and because that was Georgia Tech going into Georgia Tech last year. That was my pinnacle. I was like, I've never been as confident in this team as I am right now. I remember saying that on the Booch Ball episode going into Georgia Tech. I was feeling so good. We just had the live Booch Ball tailgate with all the homies in Temple. That game was nothing crazy. We were playing in the rain. We won like 30-7 or something. Colby Young had that big like high point touchdown. We were feeling good. TVD ran for like that 50-yard bootleg, and we were like, oh dude, this is cake. And then Georgia Tech gave us that cold wake up call.
Yeah. Yep. That was where reality set in. That's in the words of who was it who said, we are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
Yeah.
We are who we thought we were. We were mediocre, and we let Georgia Tech off the hook.
Yeah. That's like another flashback to the 2017 season. I remember we were like 6-0, and I was trying to be like, yo, we're good. We're legit. And I remember Kriya would text me every single game. It would be like halftime. We'd be losing, and he'd text me and be like, we're frauds. And I'd just be like, Creo, shut up. It would happen every week. And I'm like, dude, we're not frauds. We're good. And we'd come back, and we'd have a last-second miracle, and I'd be like, see, we're good. And then finally, it was like, we're frauds. We suck. And I'm like, yeah.
Well, was it Pitt? It was Pitt when we got exposed, right?
Yeah, and then the ACC championship game, and then the bowl game.
That was the wildest part. We legitimately thought, even after the Pitt loss, we're like, look, if we play okay, if we keep it close with Clemson, like there's a chance that we'll get the 4 seed. Like maybe we lose by like a field goal.
No, we were like, we'll just beat Clemson and we'll still make the playoffs. It's cool.
Right. And don't disregard the fact that we lost to Pitt, who is significantly worse than Clemson.
That was Kenny Pickett's freshman year. And I remember we were like, we lost to Kenny Pickett. That freaking kid sucks. And at the time, he did suck, to be fair. But he ended up being okay. Yeah.
He's got small hands.
Who doesn't? But yeah, I remember that ACC championship game. And by that ACC championship game, I mean the only ACC championship game we've ever been in.
Played it. Yeah.
I was at my company work party, the first company I worked for in Florida. It was my first year working there. I was at the company party, just like sitting in a corner by myself, like crying, watching TV. And people would come over from time to time and be like, you okay? And I'm just like, no.
It was the one and only time that I was glad I did not go to a Canes big game. I was like, you know what? I think we're going to get stomped. I think this ACC title game is going to suck. And I was right. I would have hated to have paid to fly to Charlotte to watch us get absolutely butchered on a national stage.
I went to the Orange Bowl that year. That was fun. We should have won that game, honestly. We'll have to talk to Malik about that sometime. Oh.
Shout out Malik.
But anyway, all right. So what's your season prediction? Did you give me that?
I did not give you the season prediction. I'm gonna go through game by game. I'm gonna calculate it right now. I'll take Florida as a win.
Okay.
Take FAMU as a win.
Okay.
I'll take Ball State as a win. I'll take South Florida as a win. I'll take Virginia Tech as a win. Fuck the Hokies.
Yeah, so that's a Friday night game. And when I first heard that, I was like, oh shit, we got to play there at Friday night. But it's a home game. Nice.
Which means our crowd will be even more sparse than usual.
Showing up. Dude, did you ever go to a game on the school buses where you showed up at like halftime? Because I remember, I feel like we played somebody it was like Cincinnati on a Thursday night or something like that. I know we played them a couple years later on a Thursday night. The first year after I graduated, we played Cincinnati on a Thursday or something. So maybe it was the same thing the year before. I don't know. But yeah, the stupid school buses showed up at like halftime because we were stuck in a highway traffic. So stupid.
But that's the Miami way. All right, so we're at 5 wins.
And then Cal.
We're not going to beat Cal. That's a trap game. I feel like that's our trap game. Flying out to the West Coast for the first time. Maybe it's because I'm a Cal alum now, but I feel like that's a trap game. Cal's going to be up. I don't know if that's Cal's first home ACC game.
You're a homer, bro. Don't be a homer.
Okay, we're at 5. I think we then crap the bet against Louisville. No, we won't crap the bet against Louisville. The Cal game will be a wake up.
That is Cal's first ACC home game, by the way.
They're going to be up for it.
They go to Florida State 2 weeks before and then have a bye before we come to Cal. So yeah, they're going to be ready.
They're going to be ready. Cal's not good, but it's okay. They'll be ready for us.
They got that good running back though.
And then we'll probably lose to Louisville. Actually, this is the problem, Freed, is that like that's when this happens every season. Like after we have that one horrible loss, we just like give up, right?
Bro, but this team's different. It's a different team. This team has culture, okay? The culture is going to prevent the letdown.
Pero when it gets tough and when the pressure gets on, we drink cafecito.
That Cal game really is a trap-aholic type game, though, because, well, okay, so after Cal, we have a bye week. That could be the saving grace because they don't need to look ahead. If hear me out. If there was no bye week, I could definitely see the staff and players starting to watch the film on Louisville and Florida State coming up the 2 weeks after, but there's a bye week. If the culture is what they want to be, if they get to where they want to be, if they get to where we want them to be, they'll go into Cal and take care of business. But
okay,
trap game written all over it, though. No doubt. Good call.
All right. You know what? You've talked me out of it. Because I'm going to change up how this works. No. Because you know what's going to happen? I'll give them back the Cal win, but we're going to crap the bet against Louisville. There's no doubt that we're going to crap the bet. It's a bye week. We've never played good coming off bye weeks. Like it's the bye week curse. Louisville is good. I don't know what we
Major factor for Louisville. Is Tyler Shuck hurt yet or not? That's going to be a major factor.
That will be a major factor. But okay, let's say we lose to Louisville. So we're at 6-1. We go into Florida State. We're going to get up for Florida State. It doesn't matter.
Of course. Always.
I think we got them. Florida State's not good this year. Okay. So that's 7-1. I think we lose to Duke.
Oh, come on.
7-2. I think we lose to Georgia Tech. 7-3. And then I think we win out. So I'll take 9-3.
So you've got 9-3 with losses to either Cal or Louisville, Duke and Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
This is the type of prediction that any other year I would have laughed at and it would have been spot on. So, I mean, who am I to say? I mean, you've ran an artificial intelligence analysis on Miami over the past 10 years, and it spit out we're going to lose to Cal, Duke, and Georgia Tech. And honestly, That would not shock me. So if that happens, three ACC losses, but we beat Florida State. If we lose 3 ACC games, there's no
We're
chance.
not in the ACC title game. So,
dude, the ACC has 17 teams now.
Yeah.
So, like, I was looking at some of these record predictions, and like people are projecting like 3-4 teams to have like one ACC loss, like some like undefeated, one loss, and I'm just like, how does this math work? But like, I'm just not used to there being so many teams. Plus, those pushovers at the back of the conference, like the Wake Forest, the Duke, the Virginia, the Boston College, the Stanford, like all these teams are losing 7 or 8 ACC games. How many? What do we play? 9 ACC games? No, 7 ACC games. 8 ACC games.
8. Yep.
So yeah, those teams are all losing 7 or 8 games. So someone's got to win them. So like, I'm not buying the SMU. Especially after seeing them against Nevada. I try my best not to overreact to week 0 or week 1 for that matter. But I mean, if we had this conversation last week, I would have said the same thing, which is that like SMU as a threat to win the ACC, I just don't see it, even though they have a soft schedule, because they have a pillowy soft, a John Rapoli soft schedule. But they're SMU, like they are one of those bottom tier ACC teams. You can't convince me otherwise.
I don't know, that Rhett Lashley offense, man. That guy's legit.
He's a good offensive mind. He's playing with a bunch of dudes who couldn't see the field at Miami. I don't see it. Their tight end was pretty impressive though, especially in the fourth quarter against Nevada. Their tight end had like 150 receiving yards in the fourth quarter. It was pretty stupid. He's like a skinny flex tight end, kind of like Jaleel Skinner was supposed to be, and he was just out there being like Calvin Johnson on them boys from Nevada.
I'm going to look at SMU's roster just because I'm curious. I mean, Romello Brinson, this is hilarious.
I didn't even know Brinson. So just from watching the game, I forgot about Brinson. Just from watching the game, the dudes who I saw getting legitimate action, Brashard was the focal point. He was playing running back, and he looked like their best running back.
Right.
Jalen Knighton was getting carries. He didn't do anything impressive when I was watching. Keyshawn Smith had a couple catches while I was watching, or at least a couple targets. He was supposed to be that guy, and he just like never really panned out for us. And honestly, I wish all these guys well. I just don't see them as a legitimate ACC threat. And then on defense, you got Jared Harrison Hunt and
Jafari.
Jafari's there too. I forgot about Jafari. Who's the other dude? He transferred there like 2 years ago. I'm blanking on his name. The Jamaican kid. Elijah Roberts.
Yep.
Elijah Roberts is like one of the better defensive line players in the ACC, at least supposed to be after the numbers he put up last year. I always liked him. I was sad when he left. But I mean, yeah, it's stupid how many dudes they have. Is there anybody else?
I'm doing a control F right now. Ja'Kai Clark. Wow.
Yes, Ja'Kai Clark. I think he's. I don't know if he's playing or not though. I can't remember if he's actually starting.
And then here's a name for the true Canes fans out there. Davis Hawkins, tight end, redshirt junior. I legitimately don't even remember this dude ever being on Miami.
He transferred from Miami?
He transferred from Miami.
He must have been a walk-on.
I don't know. His previous is Miami and IMG Academy. Do you think a dude who went to IMG Academy who went to Miami was a walk-on?
Yes.
Okay. He's 6'7". Wait, and he plays tight end. He looks kind of scrawny. Creed, what if this is that dude that you were just talking about who's beasting?
No way.
Was he white?
No.
Okay, then it's definitely not this guy.
I think is number 84. Control F that number 84. See who that is.
All right, let's see. Because this dude was number 86. Let's see. Trip Riordan.
Is he a tight end?
Tight end. Number 84. Nope, that guy's also white.
Okay, I have no idea then. I made up number 84, I guess.
Let's see. They got a bunch of tight ends.
I'm just going to pull up the website. SMU football roster.
Are you sure it wasn't RJ Maryland?
It was definitely RJ Maryland.
Yeah, this guy looks like he's actually good.
It was 100% RJ Maryland.
Chose SMU over Boston College, Miami, Houston, Liberty, Louisiana Tech, Ole Miss, Purdue, Tulane, UCF, and Wisconsin.
All right, so Jizz.
I know we're coming up on time.
9-3. So no ACC championship, no playoffs. You got us in like the Cheez-It Bowl or something.
So we're going back to where we always belong, Freed. We're going to the Independence Bowl. As per usual, we will serve our penance in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Hey, I'll meet you there. I am so happy I didn't go to the Independence Bowl in 2019?
They all blur together. Shreveport, Louisiana is the most miserable place on earth.
We played there. It was probably 2019. I remember. Yeah, it must have been 2019. Maybe 2018, possibly. But, it's not that far from Houston. And I was like, that was the game we lost 6-0 to Louisiana Tech, if I recall.
That must have been, when did Manny get fired? That was 19. Because that was Manny's last game.
Yeah, that sounds right. No.
Yeah.
Was there somebody between Manny and Mario?
No.
All right, then he didn't get fired in 2019. That was Rick's last game.
No. Let's see.
Yeah.
Independence Bowl, 2019, 14-0 Louisiana Tech.
Yeah. I think that was Rick's last game.
No.
It doesn't matter. It's all blurs together. Anyway, I'm just glad I didn't go. Misery. But enough about that. Listen, 2024, we got the Gators, and I've been posting these updates every day. I should know this. I think I posted number 5 today. So we got the Gators in 5 days. Want a little sneak peek on tomorrow's Cane of the Day?
I do.
Kiko, number 4. Kiko tomorrow. Critical to beating those Gators bigly.
I think I know who the number 1 is. Have you already done Cam?
I have not. That's a good guess.
Who would have guessed that the quarterback transfer, future Heisman winning quarterback transfer, Cam Ward?
Not if we win 9 games. We're going to need to win 11 for that to happen. We're going to need to be in the playoffs. We're going to need to be soundly in the playoffs to get Cam Ward there. But I see a path. There's a path.
Freed, remember when I told you Tyler Van Dyke was going to win a Heisman?
No.
That's good. Because I did say that. I was like, EBD, this guy's locked in this year. He'd never locked in.
I was also drinking the Kool-Aid. I mean, obviously we all were. Last offseason, I wish we could play back some of our conversations from last offseason. I hope we don't go down that same path this year of like just being so wrong about so much. But like we know what Cam Ward is. Is there a potential that he shows up and he's just not the same? The system's different. Like the lights are too big. I don't see it being a lights are too big thing. The only situation I see that it doesn't work is he isn't clicking with the OC. And that's possible. Like you never know what's going to happen. But we know what Cam Ward is. And the thing, and when we get on tomorrow or Wednesday or whenever we get on next, let's start here. Let's start with the QBs and go through it. The thing I'm most excited about is Cam Ward had to be the Superman at Washington State. He doesn't have to be Superman here. He just has to play his game in a more conservative version of his game, a chill, laid back version of his game. He almost he can be a game manager plus. Like he can be a game manager 90% of the time. most of the time he doesn't need to do that. But every now and then, when the moment gets big, he can jump back into Superman mode. But he doesn't have to do that every single play.
Before we leave, queuing it up for next session, what playmakers do we have? Who is he game managing for? Because where are our weapons? I feel like we're showing up to a war with knives. I don't know. We'll talk about weapons in our next session, but
yeah, we're gonna need to talk about it. I feel like you're selling them short. I feel like it's interesting. There's two sides of it. We have more depth than I think we've had in a long, long time.
I agree.
Do we have that elite skill position talent? We'll talk about it next time.
Perfect. A perfect way to wrap up.
Yeah. So I'm going to close out the spaces here. How do I figure out how to do this? But
did anybody ever join us? Let's find out. Nope. Nobody ever. We talked to the abyss.
Hey, we talked to ourselves. We love that. But if anyone ends up hopping into this and checking out this stream or this recording at some point, hopefully it's way in the future and Miami's winning national championships, and we're just looking back on this as a fond memory of the time when we were just so cute and unsure. So let's pretend like that's going to happen. And Jiz, thanks for joining me. Let's do this again in the next day or two.